I'm going to speak and brag on the 22 high school guys that showed up. It's a really tough group of guys. The mental toughness that I watched the last 8 weeks is exemplary. Yeah, just fantastic. Nobody shied away. These guys were prepared for the challenge of what this entails, and it was never easy for any of them. But these guys were fearless.
There was Brent Venables talking with the media on Wednesday. Welcome back to the Soonerscoop.com YouTube page. Eddie Radosevich, George Stoya here from the Soonerscoop.com studios on Campus Quarter. A really good time to join Soonerscoop. If you're not already a member, promo is right there, right in front of you. $1 for 1 month, spring ball special. Pretty self-explanatory, George, as it's a really good time. March Madness starting for, I guess not madness, but the postseason starting for the women.
Yeah.
Saturday up in Kansas City, the number 1 overall seed in the Big 12 tournament, as well as Oklahoma finishing out the regular season on Saturday down in Austin for the regular season finale there in the Big 12. Kind of weird that OU and Texas playing the final Big 12 game against one another. Yep. It didn't hit me until I was walking out of the Lloyd Noble Center that they'll never play another Big 12 game there.
Brett
on
Yormark
Tuesday
special.
Night. He could do some good if he just imploded the damn thing, and he'd take a lot of, I guess, weight off of some people's shoulders.
I'm surprised he's not sending them to Vegas to play.
He would love that, wouldn't he?
He would. Big Vegas guy.
Big Vegas guy. Welcome back. We talked to you yesterday right here talking about everything that Brent Venables had to say at his first meeting with the media since the Alamo Bowl down in San Antonio, the post-game Alamo Bowl, which, I'm sure wasn't his best memory. But we did talk to a bunch of players on
35.
Wednesday.
35. I think it was, 21 or 22 mid-year enrollees, the true freshmen coming in, as well as 13 transfers. And we talked a little bit about it yesterday, but we're going to hear from some of those guys, some of our favorites and some of the best clips that we got from yesterday. But it was a joy just to kind of, talk to them, get to know, their backstories, especially some of those transfers. Why did you come to Oklahoma? Why did you get in the portal? And then some of the true freshmen.
Sure.
I think a good word to use for them is confident.
Yeah, definitely confident.
They feel like they can contribute, from year one. But I think they're also a good group of humble. I think that Nigel Smith said it best. He goes, of course I want to get on the field next year, but I know my role.
Sure.
And whatever that role looks like next year, I'm willing to accept that. So it was fun getting to talk to those guys.
It's really interesting because I remember back to, basically my first couple semesters of freshman year and having to not only do a lot on your own for probably the first time, get to class, do the doldrums of just being a student.
Yeah.
I can't imagine adding in, oh, by the way, this is going to be maybe the most important 3-4 weeks of your freshman year and kind of trying to not only impress the coaches, but show that you're ready for what's to come during the summer and then on into August.
Yeah, it sounds like they've been going to class. I'm not sure that you went to class your freshman
a little
year.
bit here and there. We had a pretty good schedule freshman year, but as you get into sophomore and junior year, that's when the attendance usually declines.
You figure out what classes you need to go to and what not to. But no, I do think that's been an experience for those guys. I mean, it's always, you hear it with any freshman is that balancing act of, handling football and winter workouts and everything that Schmitty puts you through, as well as, like I said, going to class. The classes are harder. I mean, you're talking about 22 guys that should be in high school algebra, and all of a sudden they're taking college courses. I think guys like David Stone and Jaden Jackson coming from IMG Academy, they're talking yesterday. They're already ahead. They've been taking some college courses. I'm sure some of those other guys have as well. But I think it's an adjustment. And then transfers, I think talking to those guys, a lot of them are really veteran guys.
Sure.
I mean, especially some of those offensive linemen. They've been at big universities, and a lot of them maybe even are graduated already. They're just working on their masters. They're here to play football. So always interesting to hear their perspective and how they've kind of adjusted to life in Norman.
Here is a little bit of a smorgasbord of a bunch of freshmen. Jaden Hardy, Devon Mitchell, Michael Hawkins, Danny Okoye, Eugene Brooks, Daniel Akinkumi, who I think everybody's going to love the accent, as well as Eli Bowen, kind of talking about getting used to life here in Norman.
The toughest, I really wouldn't say there has been no toughest adjustment. Maybe classes, just trying to get everything under the college schedules. You got tutoring, you got all your classes you got to be to. It's not always going to be in one building, so that's probably been the toughest.
I won't really say like tough. There's any like tough adjustments. Like you know what you got to come in and do. So like that's just it. Like work your butt off and just keep your head down every day and just keep working. Try to outwork everybody. So
it's been good. I wouldn't say my head's swimming. I think it's been in the right place and just keep my head down. A lot of the guys have developed their bodies in a really good way, including me, and just staying in the playbook. So it's been a really good transition.
Oh, it was great. All the people that I'm training with, working with, doing drills with, it's really cool because it's like iron sharpening iron, and you can really see it in the way that we practice and the way that we work. We got a great class, a great group of guys, even the guys who were already here, some older guys sharing their wisdom, giving some insight, but we're definitely going to be something special. I like what we got growing here.
Really, for me, just keeping that chip on my shoulder, just coming in, working, showing what I could do. Really, going into the All-American game, I just set my mind to I'm gonna come in, compete, and show the top recruits and the coaches what I could do. So, really, for me, coming into college was the same thing. Coming in, showing everybody that's new here what I can do, showing the coaches what I could do, and showing what I'm capable of.
I'll probably say I like to learn, so that's why I don't really have any issues with education, because I love to learn new things. I love to go around, see the natural environment, because obviously I've never been here before, so I try and ask the teammates for a ride, for me to go and see Norman in general. I've never been fishing before, I've never been to a gun range before, so we're planning all these times for when I can go and experience all these amazing things. But other than that, my whole life has just been pretty much football, education, and God. That's pretty much been it.
Yeah, we believe in our skills. We believe what we can do. We're on each other trying to be the best we can be as a whole, because we had a group chat before we even came up here, trying to get the point across that we're gonna be the best. So that's the goal.
If there aren't cameras there when Daniel Akinkumi goes to a gun range in Oklahoma,
was
maybe
about to
get
say.
an onion burger as well. Maybe the most Oklahoma experience you could get.
The rumor is that you're going with him. You're the one taking him out there to the gun range.
I think that
That should be Sooner Scoop HD.
His
That'd be
familiarity with a gun range would probably be about the same as mine.
Yeah, me too.
Which is not, I guess, good for me being from Oklahoma. But good to hear from a bunch of those guys. There is a little bit of a difference when you start talking about position groups. And I think that, somebody that we had talked about, or a group that we had talked about and is going to be talked about from probably now until the beginning of August and even on into the season, is going to be that freshman defensive line group.
Yeah, they're a special group, and we've written about it a lot. We've talked about it a lot. Josh has mentioned that this is the best defensive line group in some time, really probably dating back to that Gerald McCoy class. And we got to talk to him yesterday, and they know the expectations, right? Like it's very clear they understand that there's really high expectations. I wrote about David Stone yesterday and how he's embracing them.
It's interesting to me when you talk about expectations, and somebody specifically like David Stone, expectations have followed him from wherever he's gone, whether it be starting out at Del City. I remember going to one of his first games on varsity. Josh was like, "Hey, you need to probably go check out this guy. He could be a dude one day." And it's followed him from, there and then on to IMG, obviously, trying to kind of prove what he is as a football player. And, I think the same could be said for Nigel Smith, Jaden Jackson, Danny Okoye, certainly one of the more intriguing guys in the freshman class just because of where he's coming from a homeschool situation.
And I think just seeing them yesterday too. One, it's one thing to talk to them, and those guys are all confident. Like I said, I think that's one thing that's going to stand out when you hear these guys talk, is they're very confident in the way they can play and how they can play as a group. But then you get to see them, and those are some big dudes. David Stone definitely looks the part. Jaden Jackson up to almost 300 pounds already. Danny Okoye said he's already gained 25 pounds. He looks like a freak. And you mentioned it today on the Unofficial 40. Nigel Smith is a guy to watch. I know he doesn't always get lost in the shuffle, but when you're talking about David Stone and Jaden Jackson, obviously people are talking about him. Those guys, Danny Okoye, kid from Tulsa, he stands out. Don't sleep on Nigel Smith. He's a guy that I wouldn't be shocked. We'll see if he plays much this year, but I would not be shocked if we look up in a couple years and he's one of their best players.
It'll be really interesting to see how they handle this spring. And, you know, there's going to be ups and downs, just like anybody in their first couple semesters of college. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle these expectations. They were asked of it on Wednesday at Media Day, and here's what they had to say.
I mean, we've embraced them by working hard. Came in and day out, working as hard as we can. There's guys just grinding. It's a lot mentally and physically, especially getting into that fourth quarter and those the last couple stations. You finish up and you've still got some extra to strain your body and see who's going to give up, but nobody ends up giving up. So I think we're not really worried about those expectations. We're just more worried about this team and going into the SEC and doing as best as we can and just helping out our guys.
He's probably our defensive line leader, and you know he's helped me and Stone amazingly. You know, everything from his knowledge on the field, from off the field, from little techniques here and there. Actually, the whole room. You know, they just coach us really well. It's not compete. You know, it's competing to win. You know, it's been amazing. They just, if I have a question here and there, they'll instantly help me. And if it's wrong, they'll like help me a different way just to make me understand. So DT or Dejon, Terry, and all of them has been really amazing to me. So
all I can say is I'm a competitor. You know, I'm gonna do my best to compete, and I love winning. And so I'm just trying to win any opportunity I have that's in front of me. And so Coach Bates, you know, he's going to do everything he can to put me in the best position to win. And we're going to just do our job to the best of our ability, our 111th, my 111th, and hopefully, you know, the accolades come.
You know, I really don't have any expectations. Like I said, my goal is to come here and do as best as I can. I'm going to try and learn this playbook. We talked about playing time yesterday with Coach Shave, not really playing time, but what you have to do to get on that field. He said you have to, one, know what you're doing, learn the playbook, know whatever calls are going to come. You have to strain and show you're straining in everything you do, not only on the field, but just outside and just in life. And then also that you're tough. You have to show that you're tough. And Coach Shave loves tough guys. Whether we're doing the rope pull in the morning, you're not backing down from any older guys or bigger old linemen. He loves tough guys. And so those are the three things that are going to help. But if I'm not ready, I'm not ready. Whether I play my freshman year or I end up playing my sophomore or junior year, I'm here for that journey, and I'm all here for the end goal of mine.
Out of this spring, I really just want to adjust to the scheme of the defensive side of the ball as well as I can. You know, it's a big adjustment going from high school football to college football and having one of the most complicated defenses in college football. So I'm definitely trying to, you know, get up to speed on everything. It's a lot of information that I wasn't here for being a mid-year. But I'm trying to adjust as well as I can and, you know, really just take it step by step, learn the scheme, learn things I need to know for, you know, summer, fall camp, and the season, and just make the adjustment as easy as possible.
Expectations have kind of always followed you, whether it be high school camps or going to IMG. How do you deal with it now? Is it different now that a lot more eyeballs are on you, and just in terms of immediate production next year for this defensive line?
You know, I take it as it comes. I've been used to the pressure that's been on me my whole life, so I'm just ready for it. You know, I'm ready for the next level of football. I've yet to, you know, put pads on, but I'm definitely feel like I'm ready for this experience. You know, every day the work feels different for my body. It feels like challenging, and I love the feeling, you know. And so I just can't wait to the moment of the first game where I can just put the helmet on and then the sounds, they just disappear. It's just me and football. I can't wait for the moment.
Jaden Jackson hit on something that's going to be important for this group, and you talk about guys that returned. And DJ Terry kind of taking somebody like a Jaden Jackson under his wing, where you have Danny Okoye talking about the defensive end group, that you think about the four guys that are coming back from last year's team, you know, whether it be an Ethan Downs, who certainly will be one of those older brothers that kind of takes everybody under his wing. I think he's kind of the father figure of that group. Or Mason Thomas, who's been around the block a couple times. You think about Trace Ford. You think about PJ Adebore, even though he's only a true sophomore now, he's been around it, and I think it should be able to help kind of tell these guys what to expect here over the next couple weeks?
I think it's huge, and that's why it was such a big deal when a guy like DJ Terry announced he was going to come back,
Sure.
and same with Jacob Lacey, and
Who might even be around more so now than he was before.
And I do think he'll be sticking around, kind of being like almost like an extra coach out there for those guys. So having guys that are experienced, have been through it, and like you said, even if PJ Adebawore, like he didn't play much last year, but he's been through it.
Sure.
And maybe a guy like Nigel Smith who doesn't play a whole lot next year, PJ can kind of walk him through how to attack that, how to continue to try and get better, even though you're maybe not getting the playing time that you want out on the field. But I think just listening to those guys, they have the right mindset coming in. We'll see how much production they can do next year. I think that a guy like David Stone, a guy like Jaden Jackson, especially interiorly, they're going to have to play. I mean, you just look at the depth there, and they just don't have a ton of experience other than Terry. You hope that a guy like Grayson Holton can develop, Marcus Strong, Champ Sanders, but that's only a handful of guys. And, they want to have a 5-6 man rotation. So guys like a Jaden Jackson, David Stone are going to have an opportunity to get on the field next year.
Maybe the polar opposite of that is on the offensive line, where you bring in a bunch of guys that have played quite a bit. Spencer Brown, it seems like, just talking to him yesterday. And by the way, any of the player interviews that you want to see, just individual stuff, you can check it out on the Soonerscoop.com editorial page, all of them, and they'll be continued to be added here over the next 24, 48 hours in terms of some of the conversations that we had. It was quite striking, though, when you talk to Spencer Jones, when you talk to Fabice Wuwewi.
Wee-woo, I believe.
Wee-woo.
Yeah.
Fubechi Wee-woo. I'll get it at some point. Maybe before you graduate.
Maybe we'll get him on the show and just have him say it for us.
It's gonna be Kerry Burdock reminds me in my ear that I probably will never get it, and we'll be honest, full transparency, probably will never get it. I'll need to learn his number rather quickly so we can refer to him as 54 or 56 or whatever he's going to be. Both of those guys, Spencer Jones and
Spencer
Fabechi.
Brown.
I almost cussed, and we're going to be a little bit more mature about this. Spencer, I keep wanting to say Jones.
Brown.
I don't know why. Spencer, shout out Spencer Jones.
Spencer Jones, he's getting married.
Is he really?
Yes, yeah.
Good.
I found that out the other day. Maybe that's
little
why you're thinking about
sidebar.
it. Yeah.
Little sidebar. Both of those guys, though, they're going to be counted on. I think that we both walked out of there yesterday going, you know what? These guys are acting like guys that know that they're getting ready to step into a big role.
Yeah, and I think that they have that maturity. Not to say the other guys don't, but I think that you can hear them the way that they talk, especially Fabici. I mean, because that's the one guy. The other three guys, they come in, they have 1 year left.
Sure.
You know that they're going to be trying to fight for a spot. Fabici's still young. He's still got, I think, 2 years of eligibility left. Was injured last year at North Texas for part of the season. But he's a guy that I've heard the OU staff loves. He's been really good in the weight room. He's a monster of a human being. Like he definitely looks the part. And then just talking to him, you can tell he really fits in here. And he was talking to me about, he was recruited by Seth Luttrell at North Texas. That was a huge part of his recruitment to come to Oklahoma when he got into the portal. And I think that he's a guy that could easily slide in at left or right guard and start for Oklahoma. And then Spencer Brown. I think he's certainly, everybody wants to compare him to Walter Rouse. It's a rightful comparison in terms of what he can bring to the table. I think he slides in perfectly at right tackle. He's also, you can tell, very mature, brings a lot of leadership, has played in some high-level football games at Michigan State. I know Michigan State wasn't great last year. That was kind of out of his control, but he's certainly got the size. I think he's 6'6", 315 pounds. Walter Rouse was 6'5", 319 pounds. So very identical body size, shape. And I think that he's a guy, again, kind of fits what they want to do and is an easy plug and play there at right tackle.
Especially at a position group that is going to be rather scrutinized, I would imagine. And I
asked them about that. I asked all four of those guys, Michael Tarquin and Garen Hatchett as well, just kind of, hey, I'm not saying people are doubting you guys, but there is a huge question mark about this offensive line. And their message to me was, hey, we understand that, but we feel like we have a good group. We know we haven't played together at all, and they have yet to even be really on the practice field.
Right.
But it is a group that they feel like if they can get all the pieces right and find that chemistry, and that starts this spring, they feel like it can be a pretty productive unit.
Here is Spencer as well as Fabici talking about kind of where they're stepping into coming to Oklahoma.
It was crazy just because we didn't really have the season that we wanted at Michigan State. Sure. I wanted to turn pro,
And looking at my grades, I kind of felt like I had more in the tank and more to show scouts and in the NFL. So I felt like one more year will help me in a lot of different ways.
You know, I can't speak much for the guys, for everybody else, but I will say, at least my expectation for myself is do the very best I can in every play, every rep. You know, hustle, run to the ball, you know, just the key things that make you a fierce offensive lineman.
Not sure if you're familiar. They had Walter Rouse last year. How much of that was a blueprint just on kind of what they do for a guy for a year to come into the program?
Amazing. I mean, Coach B, he's a tremendous coach. So it was a no-brainer decision for me to, if I had to hit the portal, get coached by the best, play in the best conference, and elevate my game. So I feel like Coach B had a wonderful track record and fabulous coach, regardless of NFL, college, anything. You know what I mean? I feel like he's one of the best O-line coaches in the country.
I would say, you know, I would say it played a part, but it wasn't the ending decision.
Sure.
I would say, because I personally think that everybody should bet on themselves. So regardless of who, I think I would bet on myself. Regardless of who was in front of me. But that is an incredible opportunity to come in, you know, with to come in and have the chance to start at a place like this where there's so much talent and there's so many. Just because we had some guys leave, don't mean that we don't have some dudes that are still on the team, you know. So I just think it's a great opportunity for everybody.
There's no pressure because, I mean, when you try to be the best, I mean, it requires being perfect anyway, you know. So the mindset really don't change. Just keep my head down and work. I mean, that's what we do it for, is the pressure. You know what I mean? So
I think the one theme with those guys, especially, they love Bill Beatenbow.
Yeah.
And I think, especially for those transfers coming in, they view this kind of the question that you asked Spencer Brown about Walter Rouse. I think that they not just saw Walter Rouse, but some of these other guys that have transferred him, even a Tyler Guyton, in the way that Bill Beatenbow was able to kind of perfect their technique, improve their draft stock. That's what they want to do here. And I think that those transfers, especially the guys with 1 year left, view this as an opportunity to say, okay, I felt like I was ready to go to the NFL, but Bill Beatenbow is going to get me ready to make sure that I'm fully confident before I take that next step.
I mean, you look at it on paper, and we've talked about this here on the YouTube show before. We've talked about it on the Unofficial 40. I know that Josh has wrote about it. You probably wrote about it as well. Bill Beatenbow's a guy that now he's put back-to-back first rounders. I mean, of course, it's going to have to happen with Tyler Guyton. I think it's going to be expected that he's drafted in the first round. But, him and Anton Harrison are really good blueprints as far as what this could be. Get another year of eligibility, and then also go play in the SEC. And I think that's a selling point for somebody like a Spencer Brown.
Definitely. And I think, Spencer Brown's not going to be a first-round pick, but I do think he could have a similar path as Walter Rouse, where he's kind of on that border of getting drafted or not getting drafted. If he goes in and has a great year, he has the size, and I think he has the athleticism to be a really good player. So I think they view that you're going to go up against some of the best pass rushers in the country every single week, like you said, playing the SEC. And Spencer Brown's gone up against some really good players playing in the Big Ten. So I think that all played into these guys' decision, wanting to come here and say, okay, I've got 1 year left. Let's see how much better I can get with one of the best, if not the best, offensive line coach in the country in terms of putting guys into the NFL.
Certainly going to be the number one kind of storyline as we go through spring and the development and what is actually there of, not just the freshmen that are coming in, but certainly these transfer portal guys on the offensive line, as well as, who's going to be somebody that maybe is already on the team that is returning, whether it be a Jake Taylor, Josh Bates, Logan Howlands, a bunch of guys that, certainly have bright futures. Yeah, Heath Ozeda is certainly one of those guys, especially at the guard position, that it'll be interesting to see how all of that comes together. There's a lot of newness that comes with, all of the newcomers. And one of them that isn't new particularly is somebody in Casey Thompson. And I think that, it's interesting, George, because you look at what he's stepping into. I think that there's a certain level of understanding what he's stepping into as well. But at the end of the day, this is a kid that basically grew up in the shadows of the stadium. He grew up in, obviously the son of an Oklahoma legend at the quarterback position in Charles. His brother played at Oklahoma. It has to be surreal for him to be finally here after a career that has spanned now, 4 or 5 different teams.
Yeah, hearing him talk yesterday, you could tell what it means to him just to put on that Oklahoma jersey.
Sure.
And you asked him a really good question about, hey, the writing's on the wall. Jackson Arnold's going to be the starter. You knew that coming here. Why did you end up coming here? And I think that his answer was pretty telling. And it's also, again, you talked to 35 guys yesterday. A couple of them, or not a couple, a lot of them are 18-year-olds, and you're talking to them, and then all of a sudden you go over to Casey Thompson, and he's, 24, 25. You're talking to a grown man, and you can just tell the difference when he's talking, and very
certainly
mature.
A guy that's been in front of a microphone as the quarterback representing a program.
Yeah, and especially a big program. You look at where he's come from. I know most recently he played at Florida Atlantic, but I mean, this is a guy that was the starting quarterback at Texas. I mean, there's similar expectations.
Had a year at Nebraska.
Exactly, Nebraska. I mean, the expectations are high at those programs, and I think that you can tell he understands that at Oklahoma, and I think the biggest thing for him is he understands his role.
No doubt about it. Here is Casey Thompson. I had to ask him, is all of this still a little surreal to him?
It's almost like it feels like I'm living in a movie, because like sometimes I drive around and I walk around the stadium, and I grew up here as a kid, right? And I've been gone, and I'm able to, blessed enough to come back and be here. But yeah, it's just crazy sometimes. I'm just like, I look at like the date on the calendar, and I'm like, it's 2024. Yeah. I'm sitting here looking at, Gaylord Memorial Stadium, or I'm driving down Lindsay Street, where I've grown up, driving through my whole life. And I'm just really blessed and fortunate to have this opportunity to be a part of this team. And yeah, sometimes it feels surreal for sure. Like I said, I've had dreams my whole life. Like literal dreams, and waking up and thinking like that felt, real. Just being in the stadium, being on this team. And so just to be able to live this moment out is very important and a big deal.
So let's talk about Casey Thompson for a second, because it was obvious that Oklahoma was going to need to go out and get another quarterback. They need some depth. They need somebody that is going to be back there. God forbid something happened to Jackson Arnold next season. I don't think that it's necessarily a comfortable spot in having to throw out two true freshmen. You also have General Booty returning. But, it's interesting for him particularly because he is signing up to basically be a backup for Jackson Arnold. I know that he's going to put his best foot forward, and it should be noted that Brent Venables said that Casey will not be able to do a whole lot during spring coming off the ACL injury. But I do think that him just having a presence in that room, that, those rooms, as we've learned here over the last couple of years, is a very close-knit community, if you will.
Yeah.
They all got to ride for each other. You saw Dylan Gabriel and some of the stuff that he would talk about Davis Bevel a year ago. It's just interesting what he's stepping into and actually, in a way, kind of signing up for.
I think it speaks to his maturity, and he understands that his career, and I think he probably would love to go play in the NFL or the UFL or whatever, but I think that he also realizes that, maybe his career, it didn't end up the way that he probably had hoped, but he knows that he can still do some good, and I think he still had that dream of putting on an Oklahoma jersey and playing in Norman just like his dad and his brother. And so I think that that's the part that, again, it's a very mature move by him. And I think he also knows, and he kind of goes into it in his answer with you, is like he knows that sitting here for a year, one, will get him healthy because he has gone through several injuries. But two, it's going to be good for him better in life. And whether that's job interviews outside of football, if he wants to get into coaching, this is a good place to be, right? He could help out here at Oklahoma or somewhere else. You can get your foot in the door in coaching. And I think, like you said, he also, I think, looks forward to being a mentor. And he knows that this is a quarterback room that has a lot of young talent, but a lot of inexperience. And he can bring that as a guy that has played, I think 30-some games of college football at the highest level. So I think it's great for Oklahoma. You literally could not ask for a better situation in terms of having a guy with that kind of experience. Because like you said, if Jackson Arnold goes down, and I've said it before, there will probably come a point where he's going to have to come in the game and play, knock on wood, but it's happened the last few years at Oklahoma.
It's the reality of the quarterback position.
You feel good that he could come in and at least give you a chance, where I don't think Oklahoma's really had. Last year, you were relying on a true freshman, and Jackson Arnold, as talented as he was, it's a tough spot to throw him into. Obviously, a couple years ago, the situation was terrible. You're throwing in Davis Bevel. So I think that it's a really smart move for Oklahoma. And again, just a very mature way to go about it for Casey Thompson.
So we asked him on Wednesday, what does 2024 look like to Casey Thompson? Here's his answer.
Like I said, the games and the starts and the experience I have, it speaks for itself as far as I have a lot of college starts. I've had a lot of college game experience. Oldest guy in the room, obviously. But you know, when I come into this room, I want to be a great teammate. I want to be able to help these guys. I want them to be able to help me. I want to be a good friend to Jackson, to General, to Mike, to Zerb. So really just trying to be there for each other and to be a great teammate. I think it's important because quarterbacks, there's a special bond about a quarterback room of just being able to push each other and help each other and, you know, not be, you know, jealous or envious of each other when you go out there and play. And so, you know, when I'm rehabbing and I'm trying to get healthy and I'm watching film, I don't know what my role is going to be yet for the fall. And I don't, like I said, the staff has never even seen me take a snap here at practice. And so I try not to get too far ahead of myself. But like I said, I believe, my family believes, Coach Venable believes. You know, I've heard it said that, you know, when I'm healthy and I'm able to be on the field, you know, I can play the game at a high level. Coach Jones made a comment a few weeks ago, the receivers coach, and I've seen him a couple of times throughout the building, and he was like, man, I watched some highlights of you the other day, or I saw some of your film, and he was like, I have a lot of respect for you. Like, I view you a little differently. And I was like, why you say that, Coach? And he was like, you can play ball. And I was like, I appreciate it, Coach. I was like, I know I can play the game at a high level. You know, I just have some unfortunate injuries. Sure. And like I said, I just try to be humble about it. I try not to walk around talking about, you know, the experiences I've had unless somebody asks me. Jackson obviously knows that I've played a lot of ball, and everyone on the team knows. So honestly, I try to take one day at a time and focus on our workouts and our meetings and just soaking everything in as a sponge. It's crazy because there's a lot of plays that like we run, and you know, I've ran at different places where like I know the concepts and it's just literally just a new name. And so I just gotta, you know, flip my brain. But I'm learning a lot from, you know, the other guys in the room. They've been here, they've been in the system, and they know how things work here at OU under Coach Venables. So like I said, I'm just trying to be a help in any way that I can and be the best that I can be.
Be a lot of learning here over the course of the spring, and you know, certainly trying to understand the new offense.
Yeah,
and
new
everything
offense
that comes with it.
And even, I mean, you bring in a Zach Alley, and you wonder, will they change anything? I don't think they'll change anything drastically defensively, but just learning from a new coach, that's always something. But especially on offense, we don't really know what it's going to look like.
Sure.
So again, it's valuable having a guy like Casey Thompson in there who maybe hasn't been in this exact system, but like you said, I'm sure there's some overlap considering he's played in 3 different offenses now in his career.
Somebody that probably needs a little bit of an introduction, but I think when they got him out of the transfer portal, it was a massive deal, was Deion Burks, the wide receiver from Purdue. You spent a lot of time with him yesterday just in terms of kind of how he envisions himself in the offense. I thought he was an excellent interview. Hopefully he is a really good player for Oklahoma, because I would love to talk to him every Monday, Tuesday.
He was probably my favorite interview, and then he was also just bigger. Like I said, you kind of get in there and you just kind of size these guys up and be like, okay, who stands out? And he is definitely one that is bigger than I thought. He looks kind of like a freak of an athlete. I know that there's been a lot of people talking about at Purdue, he was the fastest guy on the team. I expect him to be in that same category. You know, one of the quotes that was going around yesterday is that he liked to model his game after Hollywood Brown. And that's one thing that'll be okay. And then when I was talking to him, and he goes, yeah, I want to be like what Drake Stoops was last year for Oklahoma. And that really intrigued him playing for OU, and he wants to play in the slot. I'm sure they'll kind of move him around, but I do think he's going to be a slot guy. I think they can do a lot of different things with him, but I love his mentality.
Sure.
He understands there's a lot of talent in that wide receiver room. Getting the ball to every guy is going to be difficult. He just wants to do his part, and I think that he also feels like he can really contribute to this team.
Here is a little bit of Deion Burks on Wednesday at Media Day.
Definitely, just take day by day. It's great people all around here, just receivers. It's great, and honestly, I'm be happy to learn from anywhere else, any all the receivers. You feel me? So just coming back and just trying to apply what they already know and apply it to my game, I just feel like it would just be a great thing. And I feel like every program has their rock and what they stand on and what they live on, and like OU DNA, it's pretty much, I feel like it's just ingrained. Like it probably ingrained 10, 30 years ago, ever since the program been here. So just take it day by day and just trusting the process and the system. I feel like it's just going to be a great thing to come regardless. Yeah, most definitely. Like just learning everything for the first time, it's like it's like you're back at square zero, but it's like you're really not, because like the way that they learn and stuff like that, they take install at a certain time. So it's for like everybody's learning at the same time. So just adjusting it and just like making a mistake, and it's just not hard. Like they're not hard on you by making a mistake. So I just feel like I'm adjusting well.
It seems like there's a lot of different guys within that wide receiver group, and it's going to be fun here over the spring. Jaden Gibson had a lot of, I guess, talk about him
Praise.
on Wednesday. Praise from Brent Venables. You have Nick Anderson, who had a breakout season as a freshman last year. It just seems like
Jalil Farouk.
Jalil Farouk is often the forgotten guy. I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that kind of remember about, obviously how the season ended in the Alamo Bowl, but, we're so quick to forget how good he was against Texas.
He was the difference maker. He had the big catch on the final drive. I think he led the team in receiving yards that game. Didn't score a touchdown, but he was a difference maker. But yeah, that whole group, I think is going to be really good, and it seems like they all are supporting each other. We'll see what it looks like. Again, there's only so many balls that go around, and there's probably going to be an odd man out at some point next year, but you have to feel really good about the depth there. We didn't even mention a guy like Brennan Thompson, who came on late in the season, seemed to make a lot of big plays. Jaquez Petaway, big year for him. I
asked Deion Burks about him, and he seemed to, they haven't really done a whole lot of on-the-field stuff, but it seems like the makings of what we saw at the beginning of last season is still certainly there.
And you wonder, can he be a guy that makes that big jump, maybe beats somebody out to play some more? So that room is really deep, but I think Deion Burks is going to end up being a dude for this team. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up starting in the slot for Oklahoma. And again, it seems like he's just really excited to be at OU. That was my takeaway, is that he really is happy to be at Oklahoma. And I think he enjoyed his time at Purdue, but I think he also looks at OU and says, man, look at the offense that they're going to run. Look at the quarterback. I asked him about Jackson Arnold. He's like, man, that guy throws a beautiful ball, one of the best players that he's ever played with, and he hasn't even really taken snaps with him yet. So I think that all of that excited him.
As for everything else, I know that, that was kind of a little bit of a summary, a synopsis, I guess, if you will, of what we had on Wednesday. There's a ton of content to still be churned out from it. You wrote about David Stone. You talk about the offensive line and defensive line. That seems to me to be kind of the biggest storyline.
Well, it's the biggest overhauls, right? You look at, obviously, the offensive line, they lose everybody on the offensive line other than Jacob Sexton. And really, he wasn't a starter until late in the season. And then the defensive line, you lose a ton of seniors, a lot of guys that, maybe weren't superstars, but guys that were meaningful leaders and really had an impact late last year, and you replace them with a bunch of young guys. So it's going to be really interesting. That's where you win football games,
right.
And especially in the SEC. You're going to have to dominate up front, and it's going to be really interesting to see what transfers can make an immediate impact, as well as a lot of these true freshmen that, again, have really high expectations.
Oklahoma will be on the spring practice field come Monday afternoon. We will, I want to kind of delve into some position groups that are obviously knowns, but when you talk about the linebacker position, you talk about the cornerback position, there are a lot of names that you get through, and it's going to be fun to see how they are used this spring. Are they going to move some guys around? Woody Washington was on the Family Business talking about maybe moving inside and
that
doing some
cornerback
different
room
stuff.
is going to be crazy. Talking to Des Malone yesterday, that's a guy that I don't know if he gets forgotten about necessarily, but he's somebody that I would not be shocked if he's playing a lot for Oklahoma next year. That's a big dude, 6'3", 200 pounds.
You said you liked Jocelyn Velasquez as well, the Utah transfer.
From all we've heard is he's tested maybe the
Out
best
off the charts.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable. And then you talk to him, and a very bright kid, kind of like Casey Thompson in the sense that he's always wanted to play at Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling me that Lincoln Riley didn't really recruit him. He never got offered by Oklahoma.
Scumbag.
Then once he got in the portal, one of his first calls was from Brent Venables and Jay Valai. So obviously this staff believes in him and thinks that he can help.
Very good. Well, that's going to do it for a little bit of a breakdown more on the player side, player-centric as far as everything that went down at Media Day, and it's going to be fun. I'm excited to finally kind of get into the process of what is spring football.
And just hearing, we always hear kind of rumors and who's standing out, and some of it's, if guys are going to stand out and they may not be contributors next year, but it's always interesting to hear, how it's coming together. And I think, like you said, offensive and defensive line, I think we'll have a better picture after spring and say, okay, well, they know that so-and-so is going to be able to help them maybe more than what they anticipated, maybe less than what they anticipated, and maybe they have to go into the spring portal and go get a couple more guys.
Very good. Once again, great time to join Soonerscoop.com. $1 for a month. It seems to be one of the better deals that you could possibly offer. Literally 4 quarters will get you all the content over at Soonerscoop.com. And we're going to be running around softball in full swing, baseball, March Madness ahead for both the men and the women. You can catch our Hoops report as well, talking more in depth about Jenny Baranchek being named Coach of the Year, Skylar Vann, Co-Player of the Year. Peyton Verhulst was, Newcomer of the year in the Big 12.
Yep.
And it'll be fun to see if they can not only bring home the Big 12 regular season title, but the tournament title coming up this weekend. Men closing things out at Texas and then on into Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament next week. Can't believe that we're almost just over, I guess, a week away from Selection Sunday for the
Gotta
men.
love
So
it. This is the best time of year for college basketball.
You're going to Vegas too.
I know.
That's
It's gonna
not
be
a
awesome.
bad.
You got to send me your picks.
I know. Well, as of right now, you probably don't want my picks, but we will be right back here on Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.